For this last session of the course, we're going to look at some recent papers, some recently published papers that use relatively simple models and extend them to generate a new and interesting theory. So we're going to start with this paper by Alex Edmans and Gustavo Manso, published in the RFS. And it's fundamentally an extension of the Kyle model, but instead of having one informed traders, you're going to have a multitude of informed traders. And these traders are going to be strategic. Of course, if we had an infinite number of traders, so if they were atomistic, these traders would not be strategic. So in the model with Edmans and Manso, there's multiple informed traders. What is the effect this is going to have? So they use the analogy of having a monopoly or an oligopoly engaging in core competition. So in the former case, a monopoly is going to fully internalize the effect of the quantity produced on the market price, whereas an oligopoly, so with different firms competing, they're not going to fully internalize the effect of the quantity produced on the market price, and therefore the aggregate quantity produced is going to be higher in an oligopoly than in a monopoly. So in this sense, there is a, so to speak, coordination failure with an oligopoly, which is beneficial to consumers, but not to the firms. And so this is quite similar in the model by Edmans and Manso, because traders are being strategic, but when there's a pretty high number of informed traders, the trade-off that they're going to face is different compared to the case when there's only one informed trader. So when there's only one informed trader, so this trader can be viewed as a monopoly, so it's going to fully internalize the effect that this trade is going to have on the price. Now, when there's a multitude of informed traders, these traders are not going to fully internalize the effect of their trade on the price. If, for example, they are buying, this is going to drive up the price, so that's going to adversely affect them, but this is also going to adversely affect all the other informed traders who are buying. But one particular informed trader is then going to internalize this. So he's going to trade much more than if he were the only informed trader on the market. Okay, and so because all traders trade more aggressively, asset prices, and in particular stock prices, will be more informative. Okay, so that's quite straightforward once you understand how the Kyle model works. Edmans and Manso position their paper in the corporate governance literature. And their message is that corporate governance is not necessarily optimal with one large blockholder. So why is that surprising? Because if you look at traditional theories of corporate governance, what really matters is to have one large shareholder with control rights, who is going to actively engage in monitoring and intervene if necessary. For example, by terminating the CEO, by terminating some projects, by changing the firm's payout policy, and so on. By contrast, what Edmans and Manso are saying is that corporate governance can also use passive monitoring, which is facilitated by speculation, by the fact that asset prices, and in particular stock prices, are going to be reflective of the quality of the decisions made by the firm. And of course, the more informative stock prices are, the more they're going to accurately reflect the decision made by the firm. And so this is passive monitoring. The management of the firm is going to be disciplined not by a large active investor, but simply by changes in stock prices. And so this can explain why, from a corporate governance perspective, it's not necessarily optimal to have one large shareholder, but instead to have a multitude of relatively smaller shareholders who are going to engage in passive monitoring and who are going to move the stock price in such a way that stock prices are more informative and therefore better reflect the performance of the management team. And this theory is actually consistent with data on blockholder ownership in the US. In this paper, Alderness shows that instead of having one large shareholder or a multitude of very small shareholders, actually, most US corporations have several substantial blockholders. So these would be shareholders who are more informed and who would move stock prices in such a way as to make them more informative. Okay, so let's take a quick look at how this works. So we use the same notations as in the Kyle model we already studied. So if you take one informed trader I, it's going to submit a market order and to trade the quantity Xi. So there's a number capital I of informed traders instead of only one in the Kyle model. And here capital X is going to denote the aggregate market order submitted by all these informed traders. So what is an equilibrium? So it's a set of market orders submitted by all the informed traders and a market price, which is a function of the information of the market maker, which is X plus I. So this is the aggregate order flow, including the order U from the noise trader or liquidity trader. What is the condition that this equilibrium must solve? Well, first of all, this order must be optimal for each individual informed trader. And so it is solving this maximization problem. And so each informed trader knows X and takes into account the other order submitted by other informed traders. And here these traders are being strategic because they take into account the price impact of their trade. Okay. And the equilibrium is also characterized by a market price, which is such that the market maker, who is competitive and risk neutral, makes zero expected profits in equilibrium. So in other words, the market price conditional on the information of the market maker will be equal to the expected value of the asset, conditional again on the information of the market maker, which is the order flow. Okay, so as in the Kyle model, we consider linear equilibrium. And so we assume that demand is going to take this form, and we assume that the asset price is going to take this form. So then we solve the optimization problem and the belief updating problem of the market maker using these equations. And we do find these expressions A and B, as well as for stock price efficiency. So here, this is the residual uncertainty on the value D of the asset once you observe the market price. And so an inverse measure of this residual uncertainty gives you a measure of stock price informativeness. And as you can see, this measure of stock price informativeness is increasing in the number I of informed traders. The more informed traders there are, the more stock price is informative. And notice that in the Kyle model, I was equal to 1. And indeed, this measure was equal to 2 over sigma squared. So you can look at the solutions. So pretty straightforward, even though the formulas are pretty big. Try to do that on your own as a homework.